Before we start, I want to recognize a few people. First and foremost, I want to recognize my wife, Wendy, who helped plan this event and put it all together. Anyway, Larry and I talked about this idea over the course of a couple of months about getting people together to have a moment and talk about the issues of the day and not be pestered for fundraising or for a point of view, but in essence just to have a conversation. And hopefully we'll walk out a little smarter than when we walked in. We'll have questions, dialogue, and hopefully community. I mean, basically at the end of the day, that's sort of what we're after is sort of an experiment in community. And so I want to welcome all of you. In this day and age, invective and name-calling passes for debate, and that's just not the way things ought to be done. It ought to be done with thoughtful and informed debate in the open air. That's the American way.
I basically start the day around 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30. I watch the news just about every half an hour to get a sense of what's being absorbed by the American consciousness. And I read 4 papers a day. I read, 3.5. I read the LA Times.
That's a half.
I read both the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. Some people say that the truth lies between those 2 editorial pages. The truth lies in the pages of Investors Business Daily. I'm biased, but I think it's the best editorial page in the country today. I'm a political analyst. I'm a political wonk. I read everything I can get my hands on. As a contributor to the Weekly Standard every week, of course, I read that. I read the National Review. I'll read Mother Jones. Sometimes when I want a good laugh, I'll read The Nation. I think it's important to view the issues on the broadest possible reference plane. In fact, I want to encourage you tonight, look, if you firmly believe in any issue, I want to urge you to read the opposite. It really is a great exercise. Most of the times it's going to merely reinforce your original point of view, but on the rare occasion it might change your point of view. Either way, you're going to have a larger and more comprehensive view of the issue. And in a self-governing citizen republic, that's what's important, to be informed. He fought 2 wars and he won 2 wars. This may be the first time a U.S. president defeated 2 tyrannical, despotic regimes and wasn't given any credit for it. They just recently had their 6th democratic election in regions that have never experienced democracy before. And make no mistake about it, the magnitude of change that will be reaped by even a tiny seed of democracy in that region will have consequences of historical proportions and set those countries and their neighbors on a course toward freedom and democratic change. Now, I just spent last October touring with the troops out in Baghdad, Fallujah, and to Crete, and the forward operating bases. In Baghdad, I went to one of the Ba'athist headquarters, and they had swimming pools, community swimming pools attached to these Ba'athist headquarters. They were never filled with water. They used them to torture people and kill them so they could wash them down. And they had one in every city. Is the world better off without Saddam Hussein? I think so. I'm a capitalist pick through and through. Innovation is another reason why other countries spend less money than we do, because they rely on America to pay for medical innovation. And it's this profitability that drives these innovations. Sure, they cost more, but they also save more lives. Do you really want to be confronted by the next generation of avian or swine flu without American technology, American free enterprise, they're poised to resolve it? That's the bottom line. We want to illuminate their performance. We want the representatives to know that we are watching them. We want you to know what they're doing. We live in a political system that's relegated to being merely reactive rather than proactive. So the editorial cartoonist takes on the role as the catalyst, the instigator, the antagonist, the protagonist, luring the reader into the political process. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that I'm going to change people's minds. Hopefully that's going to happen on occasion. But what I'm trying to do is to inform the public to make them aware, to take an issue to such an extreme that they will react, that they will get involved. We have a participatory democratic republic, the best system of government in the world. Truly a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, but only if the people participate. It's a good working analogy of how I view Washington bureaucracies at work. Because you see, in Washington, D.C., things are not always represented as they truly are. For example, a 6.5% increase in Medicare payments is not called a rational effort to save Medicare, it's called a draconian cut. A balanced budget amendment which stipulates that Congress can only spend the amount of revenue they take in is not called common sense, it's called extremism. Making illegal immigration illegal is not called following the law, it's called insensitivity. Judging someone not by the content of their character, but strictly by the color of their skin. And when we have a surplus, it doesn't mean that we've paid too much in taxes. It means that we've spent too little in services. And a tax is no longer a tax. It's called an investment in America. No, Vice President Biden calls it patriotism. This battle our brave soldiers have undertaken against terrorists and Islamic extremism is no longer a war on terrorism. It's called an overseas contingency operation. Blowing up buildings is no longer called terrorism. It's called man-caused disaster. Our National Deputy Security Advisor for Counterterrorism and Homeland Security, John Brennan, called jihad a legitimate tenet of Islam, arguing that the term jihadists should not be used to describe America's enemies. And the new National Security Strategy document drops the term Islamic extremism from its lexicon completely. This is a nation founded on principles of limited government, individual liberty, self-responsibility, and a strong national defense. It's not a Republican thing, it's not a Democrat thing, but it's time to take our government back. And we look forward toward the future. As we inaugurate this new century, a century of invention, a century of innovation and amazing discovery of new threats and old, we embark upon a journey toward transforming the world into a brand new paradigm, a far more difficult task, transforming the world into a world of peace and prosperity. I want to challenge you to assist in this metamorphosis. I challenge you to appreciate your loved ones, because time is fleeting and we really only have them for a very short while. I challenge you to treat everyone with respect in the manner that you too want to be treated. I challenge you to have the courage to succeed, to be the best in whatever you endeavor to do, because that is the American way. I challenge you to have the courage to go on with your daily lives, but to appreciate all the facets of life that truly enrich it and make this a better world. That is your responsibility. I challenge you to get involved, to guarantee the liberty and freedom that we often take for granted that so many have died to preserve. And America is a place where you can do this. America is a place where you have the freedom to succeed. America is a place where you can aspire to do anything, and you have the freedom and the opportunity to accomplish your dreams if you have the will, the courage, the dedication, and the desire to do it. You're only limited by the boundaries of your imagination, and America is truly a land where dreams come true. We have been challenged by the forces of evil, but it's not in the nature of America or Americans to run from adversity. Yes, Americans will risk their lives for a great cause, for the principles of liberty and justice for all, and the freedom and the courage of our convictions. Our nation will rise to this challenge, because that is the spirit of America. You see, our president is wrong. America is not one country among many, many countries. America is not a nation of entitlement. America is a nation of achievement. America is a nation of exceptionalism. I am not ashamed to say it, nor do I feel the need to apologize for it. America is the greatest country of the world. And it is because of the citizens of America. Look, they may abandon the lexicon of combating terrorism and Islamic extremism. They may abandon our mission to spread democracy around the world. They may cancel the mission to the moon and other worlds, but they will never cancel our dreams because that is America.